Alright, so it's been quite a while since I've done one of these videos, an update or review video of the Squat Everyday program. So I just thought I'll do one of these now. It's day 123. I think the last time I did one of these videos was day 60 odd or something like that. So it's been quite a while. So I just want to basically give you my impressions on what I feel about the program, what I feel about my progress so far, and where I stand mentally, emotionally, all that jazz. So I'm feeling great. I'm not bored. Let's talk about the things that probably most people are gonna ask. No, I'm not bored. I enjoy training every day. It's the highlight of my day, really. I enjoy waking up thinking about how I'm gonna attack the day. What a 60 exercise is gonna do. Am I gonna do anything, and all that sort of stuff. And I quite like the surprise of not actually knowing what day is gonna be a good day or what day is gonna be a bad day. Some days I walk in here and I feel really fresh, but I'm weak under the bar. Other days, I come in here feeling all sluggish and tight and whatever, and then I end up, hitting a really high single for me. So I enjoy the act of training very much so. So I think a lot of people have asked me, how long are you going to do this? Well, the answer to that is I'm not sure. I quite enjoy training every day. And I don't miss those long ass sessions where you're trying to put in the volume for the entire week in one session. I don't miss them, and I don't miss being sore with some of those sessions. But what I really want to talk about in today's video is the Squat Everyday program itself, and what I feel after 4 months of training using this methodology, this system. I've made some notes here, so I'm not going to just be bouncing all over the shop. I've got some structure to this video. The first point I want to talk about is the fact that I don't think squatting is enough. What I mean by that is that squatting is probably the king of all exercises. It's the most compound exercise you can do, maybe arguably with the deadlift. But there are some muscles that get more love than the others. Obviously, we know what the prime movers are with the squat. For me, I feel the hamstrings have been my biggest problem, and I think that's one of the reasons why I developed the hip issue. I just became anteriorly dominant, as in my quad was much stronger than my hamstring, and there was some instability both in the knee and the hip. So when I started doing more volume for the hamstring, I started feeling a lot better, although at the time I didn't really pick up on that initially. So even though, the logic, the intuitive thinking of if I do something more, I'm gonna get better at that, I still think that's the truth. But there are some exercises, some things you have to do to accommodate that activity, that repetitive stress in that same neural pathway can leave other muscles in the body, I guess, second best. In my case, the quads, I guess, developed stronger than I thought. Now, there was a time a couple of months ago that I thought my quads were actually weak, and that's why I was kind of getting stuck sort of halfway in the squat. But as I started doing more and more hamstrings, I realized that my quad wasn't able to exert all of its maximum force because of the weak antagonist muscle. There's a relationship there. I understand it to a certain degree, but I'm not a biomechanics professor or anything like that. I do appreciate that you can't have one muscle 10 times stronger than the other. They need to kind of work in unison. So that's my first point. If you're going to squat every day, I highly recommend you do some sort of hamstring work, direct hamstring work. Now, I don't recommend you guys do hamstring curls. I don't believe in isolation exercises per se. I think you should definitely involve the glutes in that motion as well. Something like an RDL, something like a block pull, like a deadlift. Although deadlifts can be quite stressful on the body, so be careful with that. I've tried block pulls, I've tried RDLs, and yeah, I think they're working for me. So I feel quite good. And so back to the same point. Squatting every day is great, but you need to do some assistance exercises to kind of balance out the body. The other point I want to talk about is a lot of people have asked me, would you recommend for my level, for your level, whatever, everyone's at different levels, but everyone keeps asking me, both in my private life and on YouTube, should I be doing this? And I keep saying to people that everyone can do this. It doesn't really what level it is. I just think you have to be disciplined. You cannot attack every single day the same. If you do that, you will get injured, you will get burnt out, you're gonna hate your life. So the second point I want to talk about is this discipline. You need to be disciplined. I can't stress that enough. I know a lot of you guys have messaged me on Facebook, and I appreciate that. I love that. I love communicating with the community. But a lot of you guys have said, oh, there's plenty more in the tank. And some of you guys understand the approach and what I'm doing, whatever. But it might seem as though that I'm always kind of leaving, pounds or kilos on the bar. That's kind of with intention. I'm always kind of thinking about the bar speed. I don't want to be struggling. I don't want to be, grinding weights out because I have to squat tomorrow, and the next day. And so it's a continuation for me. So if you're going to squat every day, you have to be disciplined. That's something that I learned and then unlearned and then learned the hard way again. There are moments, I'm sure everyone has been in these type of moments where training is going well, you just want to, smash shit up and just going to, PI every single day. But that's not the case. You can't do that. If you do that, then your body kind of punishes you for it, and then you kind of dip and you get weak in a week or a few days time. So you can do it. You have to be disciplined. I've made some mistakes with that. I've had 2-3 weeks where I felt I had no progress. And when I go back in the log, and by the way, you got to keep a log with this. You have to keep a log. When I went back in the log, I realized that I was just mental for a period there and then plateaued. Didn't allow the body to recover. Didn't allow the central nervous system to recover. And then I was just stubborn. As that period kind of went on, on and on, I got more stubborn and more, driven to do better. But you have to let biology catch up. You have to let the body do its thing. It's a lot of this stuff is actually unknown. We don't actually know what causes hypertrophy. There are some theories and whatever, but it's a funny old game. There's many different ideas out there. But my opinion is you have to let biology dictate the pace. I've talked about this before. You have to kind of train in a threshold, and you don't want to overburn yourself. You don't want to undercook it as well. So you just have to learn over time where you are and what sort of stimulus you're after. How much work do you have to do to cause a stimulus? The other thing I want to talk about is this idea that if you squat every day, when are you going to bench and deadlift? That's a legitimate point. I've struggled with this very much so. I've gone periods where I haven't benched or deadlifted for like 2 weeks at a row. And that's obviously not optimal if you're interested in being an overall, powerlifter, if that's your sport that they're trying to do this for. So it's tricky. It's absolutely tricky because it's all about recovery. The deadlift and the squat seem to be on opposite ends of the court. You can't do both really hard. I found that if you do squatting, it's kind of easier to recover than the deadlift. The deadlift, for me at least, I don't know, I'm not, that super advanced at all. I'm in the intermediate stage, but I feel like the deadlift taxes the shit out of me, and it just completely kills the deadlift and the deadlift, bench, and the squat. So legitimate. Maybe you guys can find a better balance than me. But I feel as though as soon as I kind of get in the groove with the squat, I want to keep pushing the squat, and I want to, keep the ball rolling, if you want to call it that way. So I'm still struggling with the balance idea, but as I find the right formula for the squat with the assistance exercises and the volume, I'll probably start, paying more attention to deadlifts. But I'm kind of like that. When I find a problem in one of the training sort of departments, if you will, I really focus on that and I forget about all the other crap. So, for some time now, I've had this hip issue and I've just really focused hard on it, trying to work out what was going on. And I kind of forgot about the deadlift and the bench press. But that's something I need to work on definitely. So those are a couple of points that I just mentioned. I want to talk about some of the good stuff that I really, really feel like is a big sell to me when it comes to squatting every day. And I've told many people this. And that's the idea of core strength, core training. Core is a funny thing, Pavel Tsatsouline doesn't like naming it core. He wants to call it the midsection. But it's one of the most important aspects of training, and it's one of the most important aspects of performance, I feel. And it's because you might have these unbelievably strong legs, but if your core is weak, you can't translate that to the bar. You're going to have leaking points in the core. What do I do for core? I occasionally do some core work, direct core work, like leg lifts, knee lifts, hanging off the bar. I've experimented with sit-ups. I've experimented with crunches as well during this program. But I feel as though the best core strength training is the actual act of lifting a heavy barbell. Nothing elicits the same amount of effort, the same amount of stability through the trunk than actually lifting a barbell, whether it's in your hands or on your back. So when you're squatting every day, you are exposing your body to that force every single day. A lot of us want to burn the core out just like it's like a bicep, but I don't think, I could be wrong here, I don't think we should be going for the burn as a good indicator when it comes to core training, because core training should involve stability rather than, flexion and extension if you're thinking about, the trunk. So one of the biggest points that I feel when it comes to squatting every day is that you're going to have a strong core because you have a heavy bar on your back every single day. I think that's one of the most important things. I don't have back pain at all. I feel strong in my everyday life. And I think it's because every single day my body's like, okay, we need to stay tight, we need to get under the bar. So that's one of the biggest points that I always say to people. If you've got back pain to start off with, maybe it's not the best idea for you. Yeah, core training is something that you don't have to do if you squat every day. And the other really most important point that I feel 120 odd days in is that my technique feels on point. I'm sure I can improve. I'm sure I'm not on the Olympic level, but it makes sense that if you do something every single day, you're going to get pretty good at it. I feel the squat is such a familiar, neural pathway for me. I could probably try and estimate how many squats I've done in the last 4 months, including the warm-ups. It'd be a lot. So compared to somebody that's squatting once a week, I've had more practice at it, and it only makes sense that I'm going to be technically better at it. So technique, core strength, those are the strong points I think for squatting every day. I think I've done pretty well so far. I've had my hiccups in the last 4 months with the hip issue and with some plateauing due to poor discipline. And I've also had issues with balancing the programs out, not paying enough attention to the bench press and deadlift. But all in all, I think I've worked many things out for myself in this period. I'm hitting the weak points now that squatting every day kind of produces, I guess. So I'm in a good spot right now. I'm feeling fresh. I'm feeling excited about what's to come. I feel like I might be hitting a PR very soon in the future. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling right now. I'm not going to be stopping anytime soon. I think this is going to be part of me for quite some time. I'm lucky I have a home gym. I know the pandemic right now has forced a lot of people to stop training. A lot of people are, trying to, come up with something, how to implement different things at home. But there's plenty of videos out there about people making, cheapo squat racks, which seem to be holding up pretty well. So if you guys are interested in squatting every day, I highly recommend it, no matter what level you are, as long as you have some sort of proficiency in the squat technique. If you're, a brute, a complete beginner, you probably need to get coached on how to actually do the squat. But the more you do something, the better you get. Although weaknesses do arise, I highly recommend it. And that's all I want to say on this video. It's day 123. Before I let you guys go, I want to give you an update of what I did today. I hit a single of 180 kilos today. Then I decided to do this video. So I'm going to do some bench pressing after this. I'm not going to do any back off work with the squat. So there it is, guys. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.